According to me, Papua New Guinea is one of the most interesting, geographically and ecologically diverse country in the world. It is one of the least visited and the least known country in the world. Papua New Guinea is in Oceania that comprises the eastern half of the island of New Guinea and 600 more islands that have a total area of 4,52,860 square kilometers. It is the third largest island nation in the world, followed by Indonesia and Madagascar. PNG is most linguistically diverse nation. There are 840 known languages including English. Although there are 840 known languages, but the country recognizes only English, Tok Pisin and Hirimotu as official languages. It is also most rural countries in the world with only 13.25% of its population living in urban centers, according to a survey of 2019. So you can clearly see how many population are dependent on agriculture. So from this, we can come to a conclusion that this country is a very poor nation. The industrial base of this country is almost none. Most of its population is living in customary communities. The total population of the country is not known to the world because country's geography is extremely remote and conducting a census is very costly for such a poor nation. As a result, it was reported that the country's population is somewhat between 11 to 17 million. PNG makes up less than 1% of the world landmass, but nearly 12% of the world languages come from this country, along with 5% of the world's plant and animal species. Therefore, this country is one of the most important nations on earth from the point of view of linguistic, ecological, and geographical diversity. The country is believed to be the home of many undocumented species of plants and animals. PNG is very young nation. More than half of its population under the age of 23. So you can clearly understand how many working population are there in that country and how fast this country can grow if its political persons encourages the people to go for the industrialization. The country proclaims its independence from Australia in 1975 and Somare became the first Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea. In 2025, PNG will celebrate 50 years of independence. Papua New Guinea is a constitutional monarchy. The head of the state is the King of the United Kingdom, the HM King Charles III, represented in Papua New Guinea by a Governor General, currently His Excellency Sir Robert Dade. The Governor General is selected or elected directly by the members of the National Parliament and performs mainly ceremonial functions. The country has been an observer state in the Association of South Asian Nations, popularly known as ASEAN countries, since 1976 and has filled his application for full membership status. It is a full member of the Commonwealth Nations, the Pacific Community, the Pacific Island Forum, and the United Nations. Therefore, it is one of the most geopolitically important nations on earth. PNG also sits in a strategically important position in the South Pacific. Let's discuss its strategic geography. To understand its geopolitical and geographical strategic importance, we need to discuss some of the events of the World War I and World War II regarding this island. At the beginning of the 1884, the region was split between two colonial powers. Germany ruled the northern half of the country, while the southern part of the country became a British protectorate. Following the outbreak of the World War I in 1914, Australian forces captured German New Guinea and occupied it throughout the World War I days. After Germany and the Central Powers were defeated in the war, the League of Nations, which used to be the United Nations of the world at that time, but failed miserably, they authorized Australia to administer this area as a League of Nations mandate territory, which became the territory of New Guinea. After the World War I, the world witnessed World War II. During that time, the New Guinea campaign from 1942 to 1945 was one of the major military campaigns and conflicts between Japan, who was the parts of the Axis power, and the Allies led by the United States. Approximately 216,000 Japanese, Australian, and the US servicemen lost their life in that battle. After the World War II and the victory of the Allies, the two territories were combined into the territory of Papua and New Guinea. That is how Papua New Guinea was formed. PNG is the 54th largest country in the world, strategically located in the South Pacific. The country is part of Australian realm, which also includes Australia, New Zealand, Eastern Indonesia, and several Pacific island groups including Solomon Island and Vanuatu. PNG region mostly covered with deep tropical rainforest. The country's average elevation is 667 meters above the sea level. The highest mountain peak of PNG is Mount Willem. Its elevation is 4,509 meters. The island nation is situated on the Pacific Ring of Fire at a point of collision of several tectonic plates. The nation is on the Indo-Australian tectonic plates. The country is connected to the Australian segment by a shallow continental shelf across the Torres Strait. During the days of Ice Age, PNG was actually connected to Australia. The country's central range has been formed as a result of tectonic plate collision. The central range is much younger and higher than the mountains of Australia. As a result of that, the mountain ranges which is situated at the central portions of the country is home to the rare equatorial glaciers. Therefore, the country have plenty of woods, fishes, because the island is basically a bunch of coral islands, and plenty of fresh water. Aside from its riches, the destitute nation has a plenty of gold, nickel, copper, and liquefied natural gas, which is known as LNG. As a result, its natural resources as well as its valuable geopolitical position, the country has recently been visited by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, French President Emmanuel Macron, US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, New Zealand Prime Minister Chris Hipkins, UK Foreign Secretary James Cleverly, US Defence Secretary Lloyd Austin, and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. China is getting desperate. As a result of that, these leaders have visited the PNG, and China has recently signed defense and the civilian agreements with various Pacific Island nations. In April 2022, China signed security agreement with Solomon Island, which brought seismic impact in global geopolitics. To counter China's influence in the region, America signed defense deal with PNG. US also need PNG to protect its largest military base in the Pacific, that is Guam. Guam is very important to protect the route that is important to the businessmen, or the route that is required for the ships to pass, that China wants to control. The Secretary of State Anthony Blinken was there in the island nation because US wanted to build military bases, and he expressed his country's desire to build and upgrade military bases in places such as Lae and Manus Island. The main aim of the United States is to build military and missile bases in the country surrounding China and India, especially China. Because China and India, both of these countries are challenging US hegemony by challenging its dollar. And US uses its dollar to impose sanctions on several countries. PNG must get itself ready for the future geopolitical fight or something bigger. Even though PNG's Prime Minister James Marape professes to be a friend to all, an enemy of none. When something will bigger going to happen in the future, then PNG will no longer be neutral. That country cannot maintain its neutral position in the Pacific because the country is situated in a geopolitical hot position, and the countries like the United States and China will exercise their power to control the PNG. So friends, this is the end of the topic. If you have any question regarding this topic or any other thing, please ask me in my comment sections. Thank you very much. Thank you for your support.